All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this is like the third time I've tried to record this video. I got like an hour to record this video before it gets too late at night to record videos, at least in the apartment complex that I'm currently in. So we're gonna have to do our best to just power through this. ASMR be damned, Hawk Tua be damned. It just is what it is. On that note, let me take a drink of water here really quick. Jesus. Okay, so Cargoes has been on a bit of a tear these last few days, making a bunch of TBC guides and whatnot. And eventually he's going to get around to talking about Paladin. They're probably going to end up keeping Paladin for last because they're basically a bunch of fucking Horde players. They don't know shit fuck all about Paladin. This is actually a very common occurrence in like the whatchamacallit, the streaming slash guide making, like whatever space we want to talk about it. Basically, you have SFan, who's like the only really true Alliance slash Paladin player, and then everyone else is a fucking Horde player, so they literally don't know anything about Paladin. So you got like Soda Poppin, Zaryu, Snuts, Zico, you know, on and on it goes, Cargoes, just all a bunch of fucking Horde players. Um, the TLDR on Paladin. Oh, right. Before I get too deep into it. I want to make this video to support Cargoes and the guys, and a couple of other videos that I'm making on this. I've already made technically, like the 5 types of Paladin, blah 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 blah. Is I want something for them to help anchor their questioning slash I don't know, Paladin investigation round as non-Paladin mains, if that makes any sense. The weird elephant in the room on Paladin is that it is secretly the most complicated class in the entire game, and it's not even fucking close. I have tried to look for more complexity in other classes, and it's basically a puddle compared to like an oceanic abyss that is fucking Paladin. Now, specifically, we're talking about when you make the transition between being good with your class to asking yourself, how can I get the most out of my class in Classic World of Warcraft? If you're asking yourself, how can I get the most out of this class that I love, Paladin suddenly turns into an oceanic abyss of complexity, whereas the other classes are basically like shallow puddles of complexity by comparison. This is bizarre to say if you don't know if you even know anything about Paladin in World of Warcraft, both TBC and in Classic WoW, because Paladin mechanically is the closest fucking thing that you can get to a League of Legends character in Classic WoW. They are mechanically dirt ass fuck simple. The amount of buttons they have to push if their enemy is just AFK and doing nothing is virtually non-existent. It's like twisting. It's like you have your seals, judgments, and auto attacking. Like that's it. There's when the enemy is doing shit, suddenly you have more buttons to push, but it's only like cleanse, freedom, maybe a major defensive CD, and that's literally about it. So mechanically, you're looking at a class that is holy fuckballs level of easy. And this is in direct contrast to other classes like Rogue, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, even Priest, and a bunch of other classes can have more complexity behind them. A lot of the complexity of the other classes in World of Warcraft, TBC and Classic, comes around the mechanical use of their abilities and game knowledge. It doesn't come from what talents to take or what gear to take. That's usually pretty painfully obvious for them. Paladin, completely the fucking opposite. What talents to take and what gear to take is like, blah, is like, that's where the ocean of WTF comes from. And then on top of that, it becomes game knowledge. Mechanically speaking, there's some efficiencies that you can gain from being a more mechanically minded Paladin player. But the vast majority of Paladin is all about what talents did we take and what gear did we take. Like literally, like that's it. To put some numbers behind the complexity, The second most complicated class that I've been able to find, that I will make videos on from time to time, is Enhancement Shaman, of all things. But Enhancement Shaman has maybe 10% of the complexity and depth to its gearing and play style and getting the most out of it compared to a Paladin. And then every other class in the game has like 10% of that Shaman's 10% complexity. So we're talking about like 100 plus orders of magnitude more complicated. And that's going to sound fucking insane until you listen to me talk about this shit for like another 10 or 15 minutes. And then you'll be like, oh, god damn, okay. So let's just get right into it then. This video is primarily going to be about DPS and its synergetic effects, where it does synergize well and where it doesn't synergize well in your gearing and with these other things that it could possibly synergize with. So, for example, there are basically 6 things that when it comes to your gearing and your talenting and your playstyle in general, that you can worship at the altar of as kind of any class in the game, but specifically for Paladin, right? And this is one of the more terrifying aspects about why Paladin is so complicated. So, for example, Rogue might be able to worship at the altar of DPS, CC, and maybe like some durability, right? But that's about it. Like, that's about all Rogue can do. Hunter can worship at the altar of DPS, mobility, sustain, and maybe that's it, right? Paladin's like the only fucking class in the game that, through a combination of the talent tree, their base toolkit, and just the nature of their fucking class, that all fucking 6 of these are on the table for synergetic benefit. On top of the fact that you're dealing with a class that can wear any fucking gear in the game and synergize with it. So, for example, the only other plate-wearing class in the game is a warrior, but a warrior's not going to synergize well with fucking plus healing gear, spell power gear, gear with mana on it, resistance gear, none of that shit, right? So, yeah, that's where the complexity starts coming in very, very rapidly. Other classes like Rogue is a really good example. Their base toolkit, just DPS classes in general, their base toolkit is so DPS focused and their talents are so DPS focused that it becomes incredibly... The positive synergetic feedback loop of just worshiping at the altar of DPS for a DPS class usually outscales any other consideration on this list, with the exception of maybe CC. So they'll be like super heavy into the DPS with a little bit of additional CC and maybe a tiny smidget, like a sprinkling of plus durability. Okay? Why is this important for Paladin? Paladin's base toolkit is that of a fucking Live Lord. Okay, they are a Live Lord class as far as their base toolkit is concerned. They have multiple fucking HP bars, the ability to heal themselves in fucking combat. They've got even the DPS version of the Paladin has spell power ratio behind it. They're all over the place in what the fuck they can do, and then their talents are also all over the place. You have one talent tree that's like, yeah, I'm gonna go more on the plus healing side of Live Lord, and another one's like, I'm gonna go more on the DPS side of Live Lord, and the other one's like, I'm gonna go more on the like durability and sustain side of Live Lord, and you're just like, fuck. And that's the talents alone before you even get into what fucking gear are we wearing on this piece of shit. All right, let's talk DPS. The first thing to talk about is what the fuck is a soft cap and what the fuck is a hard cap, because we're going to be throwing around those terms from time to time. A soft cap is a point in your stats where you start getting diminishing returns and should consider putting said stat points into something else. A hard cap is where you're definitely getting nothing more out of investing in like one of the 6 things over here, and you doing anything else with your talents besides like doubling, increasing DPS beyond a point is worth it. Like literally, it's just a dead stat if you keep putting the stats into this. There was something else to talk about. I can't quite remember. Let me take a drink of water here while I think. positive synergies, yada, yada, yada. Take a little drink here. Okay. I'll try to remember it later. Let's talk about plus DPS effects. Okay. So the first thing that plus DPS, worshiping at the altar of DPS is what I like to call it, is that it reduces the kill time on your target, aka you need less time in a burst in order to kill something. The second effect that it has is that it pluses the amount of damage done over time if it synergizes with if it's synergized with plus durability and sustain. Okay, so this is important to note, and we'll talk about it more down here, but killing something in a burst does not synergize very well with plus durability and sustain, but killing something over a longer duration or a longer lasting burst does synergize incredibly well with plus sustain. The example I can do for you of this would be like, let's say you go from 100 DPS to like 200 DPS, okay? You're going to have the amount of time it takes you to kill something in a burst. But if you went from okay, let's say you only had 10 seconds of DPS. Like that's how long you get to DPS on something, and then you went from 100 DPS to 200 DPS, you would double you would cut any kill time that you had on a target in half. So if it took you 20 seconds to kill a target at 100 DPS, it's going to take you 10 seconds to kill a target at 200 DPS. If that's all the time you have to DPS, we're looking good, right? If instead we doubled our durability, like, and that's not even a doubling, I want to get into the math on that, but let's just say we doubled our effective durability, okay, rather than doubling our DPS. Well, we still... Now we don't have 10 seconds to kill the enemy in. We've got 20 seconds to kill the enemy in, if that makes any sense. So we've gone from needing 20 seconds to kill the target, but we only have 10 seconds to kill the target, to suddenly we need 20 seconds, and we have 20 seconds due to the increase in the durability. The other option on the table was to double our effective DPS, and to bring that 20 seconds of kill time closer to the 10 seconds of kill time that we need/have. All right, you follow me on that? There's another weird side note over here, which basically says if your burst is RNGesus reliant, looking at you fucking Ret Paladins, then more rolls of the dice on that RNG are usually better than plus DPS for your burst, for your burst killing the enemy. So at some point, plus DPS, you are mathematically better off going plus durability and sustain to survive longer to get more RNGesus dice rolls. All right, cool. Let's just continue here. The third thing that it does for you is pressure, aka lowers enemy HP bar faster, which can result in limiting enemy player options tactically. So the best example of this would be like fighting a rogue. So think of a rogue as think of this as that rogue could kill you if they were 50% life, but they are currently 20% HP and cannot come anywhere near you, and they're in desperate need of a re-stealth, like, you know, re-stealth, sap, eat and drink. So it's one of those situations where it's like, one second. What are the effects of pressure? How do we describe the effects of pressure? When your enemies have all their CCs or CDs available to them, your enemy is full life and full mana, the effects of pressure don't do anything, right? Pressure is not going to do anything to them. However, if you've managed to drop your enemy down to like 30% life or somewhere around there, the faster you're able to do that, the faster you're able to have a pressure influence on your opponent that will limit their tactical capabilities, right? They could come out behind that pillar and fucking murder you, but they're too low life to do so, right? They could be like, Kamehamehaing into your face, lightning bolt after lightning bolt after lightning bolt, chain lightning after chain lightning, earth shock after earth shock, but they're so close to Hammer of Wrath, and you have eye for an eye plus Reckoning, that this is a terrible ass idea, and they can't do that. They need to heal themselves, right? That's the effects of pressure. Is the closer, the faster you can diminish your enemy's HP bar, the faster you can put them into a tactical situation where they have to cease offensive operations and engage with defensive operations or die/lose, right? Really, really advanced concept, but it is there. Then you have 4, which is plus DPS, known diminishing returns that affect the above 3 things differently. Yeah. So plus DPS has diminishing returns that affect, I control Z, control Y. Ugh, Jesus. Let me just save this really fast in case that was a terrible idea. You can tell I made this thing recently. Let's talk about the effects of diminishing returns from DPS. This is probably one of the key observations about DPS that is going to affect the concept of a soft cap/hard cap with your DPS, which is going to influence whether or not you're better off stopping plus DPS effects and worshiping at the altar of one of these other 5 available to you. So the example of the diminishing returns of plus DPS is as follows. Going from 100 DPS to 200 DPS is a plus 100% increase in DPS. If you go from 200 to 300, so you've increased your DPS by another plus X, that's only a plus 50%, and then going from 300 to 400 is only a plus 33%. If we look at the effects of this diminishing return in practice, specifically in kill times, it's better to talk in terms of kill times because burst DPS is more interested in kill time. EVE Online rule effects, which we're going to talk about later, is more interested in kill times. Effective DPS versus effective HPS is far better looked at in kill times. The nature of everything is better looked at in the terms of kill time, not in terms of raw DPS. This is just the easiest way to express that the more we're worshiping in the altar of DPS, we're hitting this weird diminishing returns effect. So, if we tracked kill times on target, say there's a 4,000 HP target, the difference in DPS up here, at 100 DPS, we're going to take 40 seconds to kill the target. At 200 DPS, we're going to take 20 seconds to kill the target. So you can see the doubling in DPS is, in fact, having the kill time on the target. But then the next plus 100 DPS, where our kill time is like 13.333 seconds. And then the next plus 100 DPS is 10 seconds. So you can see the diminishing returns. We went from 40 to 20 second kill times with a single plus 100% increase in DPS, but then we needed another plus 200 DPS to have that kill time again. Okay? These diminishing returns will come up on you extremely quickly once we factor in the EVE Online rule, and very rapidly you'll be at a position where plus X more DPS is only like a plus 15, like a 12% increase, a faster kill time. I can just jump the gun here really fast. Let's go over here to this other visual. When we'll get over here when we talk about effective DPS and its examples. Let's examine this example here really quickly. So the example here of this effects is a DPS Rep Paladin versus a durability, a plus DPS Rep Paladin versus a plus durability Heal Reckoning Paladin. We specifically are interested in the kill times of this thing in 2s with a rogue ally, where there's an enemy caster free healing on the target. Let's say the Deep Rep Paladin has 1,000 bursting DPS with 9,000 effective HP, and the Heal Reckoning Paladin has only 700 DPS, bursting with like 18,000 effective HP. By the time you're done doing the math, And it's like, okay, we got a rogue ally that does 970 DPS. We have 5 out of 5 wound poison up on the kill target, but there is a holy paladin free casting heals into that kill target. They're doing 1600 HPS output. That's before we factor in the 5 out of 5 wound poison. How long does it take each paladin to kill an 11,000 HP target? Ah, a little ASMR for you. The answer is quite fascinating. The rogue on his own is only doing 170 effective DPS. That's 970 DPS minus the 800 HPS coming out of the Holy Paladin because of the 5 out of 5 wound poison. The Argent Defender Paladin, aka the Heal Reckoning Paladin, is going to bring plus 700 DPS to this party, which is a plus 410% increase in DPS. The kill time for this will drop from 65 seconds for the rogue to kill the target, to under 13 seconds for the rogue plus the paladin's DPS output to kill the target. The Deep Ret Paladin, on the other hand, is really hitting that effective DPS diminishing returns. So he's only like, what is that? 178% more effective DPS is being pumped into the target. The kill time drops from 65 seconds to 9.4 seconds. So roughly like a little over a 3-second faster kill time. Then we have to ask the following fucking questions about the opportunity cost of this. Okay? The Heal Reckoning Paladin, all right, has twice the effective standing goddamn HP of the Deep Ret Paladin. It has 100% spell pushback immunity, so it's a legit fucking healer. Hell, it's even a legit healer to the point where it can outlast enemy, like, kicks and CC and shit. And so it starts free casting heals in the arena without having to bubble, which is something Holy Shock Paladin can't even really do under the vast majority of matchups. It also is wearing full plus healing gear, so it's a legit fucking healer, and it has fucking Reckoning. Like, what the balls? Like, any one of these things being opportunity costed against that plus 3-second kill time equals probably not worth it, right? Like, you're probably better off going with the doubling of the HP or, like, wearing full plus healing gear, the spell pushback immunity, or Reckoning. But you start putting them all together, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're literally playing Paladin wrong. This is one of the, you can just see the synergy starting to be WTS over here. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but let's go back. I wanted to show you the full horrifying effects of these diminishing returns in action and what their opportunity costed against specifically. Okay? Now, let's go back over here for a hot second. If for some reason we needed to kill our enemy in a 10-second window, or we're about to get CC'd into oblivion, like, let's say we have 10 seconds to kill a motherfucker before the Cyclones start disrupting our burst, the Warlock Fears start disrupting our burst, or we're just going to get CC'd. We literally can only DPS for 10 seconds for some fucking reason. You bet your sweet ass that the Deep Ret Paladin is the winner. Winner, chicken fucking dinner, right? Because the kill time is under 10 seconds. So if for some reason the tactical situation is we only have 10 seconds to DPS, and after 10 seconds we're going to get our DPS is going to like fall off a fucking cliff, probably due to CC or some other reason. Winner, chicken dinner, the Deep Ret Paladin. But if we need, like, I don't know, 15 seconds of DPS, winner, chicken fucking dinner, all hail Heal Reckoning Paladin, right? So that's kind of the weird mechanics of the burst effects. Excluding, if your burst is reliant on art and Jesus, blah, 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 better off worshiping the altar, durability, yada, yada. Right, so there's, like, weird nuances to take into consideration here. All right, let's continue. Basically, as we increase our DPS by X amount, we are increasing our DPS by our effective DPS, reducing our kill times more accurately by less and less in both terms and, more importantly, in percent gain terms and, more importantly, kill times. Yeah, okay, got that. What this means in effect is that at some point you will be better off increasing some other stat on your Paladin, like durability, sustain, CC, mobility, healing, than to continue to invest in ever diminishing plus damage return effects, as the synergy from increasing X over Y will give you more plus plus damage than actual plus plus damage will. Very weird mechanics, but you can see it on full display with the example that we gave over here. Like the very what it's like to actually be in 2's arena DPS versus HPS mechanics that we saw over here. This plus 300 DPS is only increasing our effective DPS on the target by like a plus 188%, which is only effective, which is barely reducing our kill time because we're basically like smashing headfirst into the diminishing returns. Like we're feeding into the diminishing returns, and the opportunity cost of that is doubling of the effective HP, a viable healer, full plus healing gear, fucking reckoning. You get the idea, right? Massive diminishing returns for that plus, for that 3-second faster kill time. Okay. Kill times in a burst. When it comes to killing a target in a burst, it is almost impossible to hit a plus plus damaging diminishing return, a returns point. Okay, this is an interesting concept. As you first have to get the kill time so low that nothing can survive it. Then any additional plus plus damage just equals RNG protection on your burst, which means like you're not even hard capped. It's like, oh, I need 15 seconds to kill a motherfucker, and I'm going to kill them mathematically in 10 seconds. Okay, well, let's talk about RNG's protection now. So it's like you're still worth worshipping the altar of burst kill times. And it's only when you have RNG protection covered that you hit a diminishing returns hard cap, where you are better off investing in anything else other than plus plus damage. That's if you're focused on killing a motherfucker in a burst specifically. The only reason you would consider plus plus durability or plus CC or plus mobility over plus plus DPS in burst damaging is if that plus 2 seconds of kill time you gain from other stats was greater than the reduced kill time you get from plus plus DPS opportunity costed against the other. Hopefully that makes sense. I know that's a bunch of wordage, but let's put this into practical numerical terms. Let's say that rather than an additional plus 100 DPS on this fucking thing, we could like gain like an additional 2 seconds of CC on the enemy healer, or the thing that's going to CC us. The thing that's going to stop us from DPSing. So it would take like our kill window from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. Is that worth it? Having a 12-second time period to kill a motherfucker versus at 900 DPS versus having a 10-second kill window at 1,000 DPS. I'm not going to do the math, but the answer is probably fuck yes. And so that's kind of the only thing that would even remotely cause you to consider taking something over plus plus DPS if you were all in on killing something in a very specific burst window with a little bit of setup, right? All right, so past this, we have to talk about EVE Online rules. Whew. All right, so I've spent a lot of time talking about burst DPS as the exception to the rule here, because burst DPS is the elephant in the room when it comes to all of this synergy up here. In just about every other factor, if we're talking about like sustained fighting over time, if we're talking about like raw combat capability over a period of time, blah, 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 blah. DPS very rapidly has this interesting relationship. God, I just remember the thing I forgot to talk about at the beginning. DPS has this very interesting relationship where it hits a wall of diminishing returns so quickly that you're better off gaining in durability, or gaining sustain, or gaining in plus healing, or gaining in CC. And the moment you start worshiping at plus plus durability, it's like, well, shit, now it's worth it to worship at the altar of plus plus healing. That'll move the needle a bit more. Or mobility, or sustain. And you just end up with this insane positive feedback loop from all these synergies, where the best course of action for you on your Paladin is to no longer put plus plus DPS on your Paladin and to start like pumping up all the other things that you can synergize with. And after you pumped up all the other things you can synergize with, only then is it like, well, I guess we're back to going plus plus DPS. This positive feedback loop, if we're not looking to kill something in a burst, you can see it over here, right? With the whole RNGesus thing. If your burst is RNGesus reliant, looking at you Ret Paladin, then the more rolls of the dice on that RNG are usually better than plus plus DPS. So at some point, in plus plus DPS, you are mathematically better off going plus durability, sustain to survive longer to get more RNGesus rolls. That's effectively what's happening there. It's like we're looking to kill a motherfucker in a burst, but our burst is incredibly RNGesus reliant, and because it's RNGesus reliant, we have to ask ourselves a question of, is it better to worship at the altar of the diminishing returns of plus plus DPS, or are we better off having like a third of our gear be plus healing gear and just going more Live Lord mode so we can get more rolls of the dice at good RNGesus? 9 times out of 10, the Live Lord mode is worshiping at the altar of Live Lord is the winner. Let me take a drink of water. Get a little ASMR going here. God damn it, man. Woo! Hopefully you're starting to see why Paladin is one of the more complicated classes in the game. What was that thing I wanted to talk about? I'm trying to remember. Okay, so I can't remember. Okay, so the reason why things are this way for the Paladin, I brought it up at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to bring it up again because maybe it'll make more sense now, is Paladin has not only all of these things on the table to worship at the altar at the same time, unlike just about any other class in the game. They're also but their base toolkit is that of a fucking Live Lord, and then their talent trees are kind of like, what flavor of Live Lord do you want? Do you want a DPS Live Lord? Do you want a healing Live Lord? Or do you want like a durability and sustain Live Lord? Like, what fucking flavor of Live Lord do you want to be? Because your base toolkit is Live Lord, and because you have the option of being all over the place with what flavor of Live Lord you want to be, it's a completely different animal than, like, let's say a rogue or a hunter. Rogues and hunters with their talent points and their gearing pretty much only get to worship at the altar of DPS, and a lot of them will only stop worshiping at the altar of DPS specifically in exchange for either mobility increases or in exchange for like a plus durability. So you'll see like a lot of DPS classes in the arena, if they expect to be a focus target in the arena, will be like, hey, putting more resilience, like Geming Resiliance is the way to go. The reason for this is because they're already buttressing up against the diminishing return aspect of additional plus DPS with their gemming. And gemming is one of the few places that they can actually decide to pick something else besides plus DPS. And usually going with a durability synergy at that point is worth it more. Like, that's kind of what they're looking at, is they're in diminishing return hell with looking at plus DPS, that going for a durability increase will move the needle more for their combat capability than anything else they can do. And so they'll start yapping about Geming Resilience, if that makes any sense. For rogues, this will be different, because rogues have a lot of defensive cooldowns that basically kind of make them like pseudo Live Lords. So Geming Resilience on a rogue conflicts with the fact that they're kind of a Live Lord already. So they're better off just continuing to worship at the altar of DPS as a general rule. Hunters, it's a little bit of a different story. Hunters are usually better off worshiping at the altar of mobility. So if they could gem like a mobility increase effect, they would be like that. God damn, give me that. But in reality, it's like, be a dwarf and the dwarf is going to give you a mobility enhancement effect, and you're just like, God damn it, man, how do I kill this fucking hunter? Like somebody help me slow this piece of shit. So hopefully you can see like the positive feedback loops going on there. Okay, so the other elephant in the room that we need to talk about is what I call the EVE Online rule. What the fuck is the EVE Online rule? All right, give me a second here. I call it the EVE Online rule because this was where I first started noticing it, and the game EVE Online has the EVE Online rule on full horrific fuck off display to the point where you cannot gear your shipping, you cannot fuck around with your EVE fitting tool in any way, shape, or form. Literally, like your EVE Online gear planner for your ship/class without like understanding the concept of the EVE Online rule. When you go into twos in the EVE Online rule isn't really present in 1v1 fights very much. We can talk about its effects when we get down here. But the moment you step into the arena, EVE Online rule is king for both burst and sustain play. So we got to talk about it. And this is kind of what a part of the example down here. So what the fuck is the EVE Online rule? EVE Online rule, as I call it, is an effect that manifests when effective DPS output is close to enemy effective HPS output. Okay? When this happens, small increases in DPS become very large increases in DPS. And this has the effect that you become a complete moron if you don't worship at the altar of adding additional chunks of DPS on your class, but at the same time, you're going to smash headfirst into the diminishing return effect from it at a greatly accelerated rate. Let me take a drink of water here. Okay, example, and this is straight out of EVE Online. This is E-fitting tool, heavy assault cruiser versus like heavy assault cruiser. So I can gear up like an Amarian heavy assault cruiser. I think it's like a Zealot or an Omen. I forget what the fuck the name of the ship is. And I can gear them up to have like 400 DPS and like 300 HPS. Or I can gear them up to have like 450 DPS with only like 250 HPS. Or I can do like 350 DPS with 350 HPS. And it's like, nah, which is better? Why? EVE Online rules, go fuck yourself. All right, so say I had 400 DPS and I was fighting someone who had 300 HPS. I am doing 100 effective DPS, okay? So if I was to increase this thing's DPS by 100 points, so if I was to plus 100 DPS to our current 400 DPS, I would double our effective DPS, and I would essentially have our kill time, and for all intents and purposes, I would be plus 100% in DPS increase, not the plus 25% you see on paper. Take your water here. So because our DPS output is very close to enemy HPS output, small increases in DPS become massive increases in effective DPS, and will have massive effects on reducing the kill time on our target. So on paper, I'm only going up plus 25 DPS, but for all intents and purposes, I'm literally halving my kill time. I'm effectively doubling my DPS. If I went up plus 200 DPS, that's only a plus 50% increase on paper, but I would be increasing it by additional 50%. You get the idea. So by the time I'm like up to 400 additional DPS, I'm buttressing up against the diminishing returns effect like a motherfucker, okay? The effects of the EVE Online rule is that we would both be fools to ignore even small increases of plus DPS, but also we are going to hit the diminishing return effect much more rapidly than we would otherwise normally. Okay, cool. I'm just, basically these things here are just notes for me personally to make sure I'm covering everything. As you can see, there's quite a bit to cover. Okay, let's talk about the effects. These are really fascinating. Okay, in 1v1 kill burst playstyle, the EVE Online effect, the EVE Online rule effects are minimal. Minimal. They're but not concerning. I guess it has to be, they are there. They are there, but not concerning enough to stop plus DPS gains. So they're definitely there. But if you're super close to the enemy's, your DPS is super close to the enemy's HPS, if your plan is to kill them in a burst, like pumping up your DPS as much as possible is like, there's almost no diminishing return. There's no, it's going to take forever before the diminishing returns even remotely factor in. Because you're just so close to the kill target's HPS. Hard to explain, but it just kind of is what it is. It's basically like if you don't worship at the altar of plus DPS, you're gonna take like 100 fucking seconds to kill a target. But if you like double it, you'll kill them in like 10 seconds. So it's like no, it's gonna take forever before you run up against the diminishing returns. In 1v1 endurance fighting, Evon rules act like a soft cap, a point in your DPS where you are currently overwhelming your enemy's HPS, but are hitting diminishing returns so rapidly that you are better off investing in plus DPS time on target, aka durability, or sustain, or mobility, or CC, or plus healing, or something else. You're better off investing in something else because we are like, insane levels of diminishing return to continue to plus at the altar of, it's opportunity cost hell, basically. In 2v2 arena, and keep in mind I didn't talk about like 3's arena, it gets even worse in 3's arena, and then it has like burst playstyle comes back full circle again in like 5's, where like, 5 arena is a combination of burst on the opener and then like durability and sustain after like 2 or 3 enemies have been eliminated from each side of the equation. So when the 5v5 turns into a 3v3 or a 2v2, that's when the endurance fighting statement comes back in line. But in the opening of the arena when it's 5v5, burst is king. So it's just like, God, don't even get me started on 5's. But in 2's arena, Evon line rule is king, both for burst and sustain play. Healer, the reason for this is that healer DPS comps are by far the most common, like, high level, top tier comp that you're going to run into. And because there's a quote unquote healer in the equation, so the fact that healer is usually present equals HPS is always a factor in kill times. And you would be surprised how quickly you hit the effective hard cap of diminishing returns on plus DPS. That's when we finally get into talking about or giving an example of it in like a 2's style equation, where we're talking about, okay, what does it look like if we're doing a DPS rep plus DPS rep paladin versus a plus durability heal reckoning paladin. We're in the 2's arena, we're partnered with a rogue, and there's an enemy healer free casting. So it's like, okay, well, the Deep Rep Paladin does 1,000 DPS, but only has 9,000 effective HP, and the Heal Reckoning has 700 DPS that is bringing to that party, but it has twice the fucking effective HP, 100% spell pushback immunity, full plus healing gear with fucking Reckoning. Holy shit, is that one hell of an opportunity cost for, I think the Deep Rep Paladin brings, like, an additional CC. They have, what is it? Repent that they bring to the party. Fucking awesome. They also have the Sanctified Seals, so you can't really purge their seals. Fucking awesome. Really good for the seal twisting. And they have the additional 300 DPS. But god damn it, man. They can't heal for shit. They have half the effective HP. You so much as sneeze in the direction of this piece of shit with some burst damage, and they're forced to bubble and cuck their DPS in half. It's just like, God, the opportunity cost. Help. Send help. And then you start crunching the numbers and the math. And you're like, okay, well, my rogue ally does 170-ish DPS. He's going to put 5 out of 5 wound poisoning on the target. But there's like, this much HP floating around. What does that even look like? Well, you can see EVE Online rules are in full fucking effect in this equation because the enemy HPS is 800. The rogue's DPS is 970 DPS, which means he's only doing 170 effective DPS, which at these numbers, assuming he can sustain them over a long enough period of time, which if you know anything about rogue is like, no, he cannot. It's going to take the rogue 65 fucking seconds to kill that target while the paladin is like free casting heals into it. For all extents and purposes, he has to wait until the paladin runs out of fucking mana before this thing is going to fall over dead. That's fucking terrifying. But if you bring in the Heal Reckoning Paladin's additional 700 DPS to the equation, it's going to be an effective DPS increase of plus 410 fucking percent, because EVE Online rules were in full fucking effect. And suddenly the kill time drops from 65 seconds to like under 13 seconds. Like holy balls, that's terrifying. If, however, we continue to worship the altar of DPS, even though we are firmly smacking our head face fucking first repeatedly into the diminishing returns effects, keep in mind that if you are in an EVE Online rules situation, any small amounts of plus DPS are going to generate huge bonuses in having the kill time and reducing the kill time. But you're also going to smash into this diminishing returns effect on your DPS at a much accelerated rate. And you can see that here. The plus 300 DPS is only an effective increase in effective DPS of plus 188%. If I was to calculate that even in like even worse numbers here, so this plus 400 DPS, let's get out a calculator here, is like basically, okay, breathe, Paladin, breathe. It's going to show it in the kill times. So I could literally just do the math in the kill times, but let's do the math in the DPS. Okay, so the Heal Reckoning Rogue Paladin DPS output is currently 510 percent DPS, like effective DPS, whereas the other one's kill time is only 688%. Okay. And if I was to divide this like 688, no, I got to divide this 510 by 688. I think it gives me how the DPS increase. So basically you're like 20%, 25% DPS increase. So the effective DPS increase from this Paladin to this Paladin is only a plus 25% effective DPS increase. And you can see that in the effective kill times. It's killing it like 3 seconds faster, which is like a 25%, you know, blah, 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 blah. And moral of the story is you can see it in the kill times. You can see it in the kill times. You can see it in the kill times. So this 300% increase in DPS, which looks on paper like a monstrous increase in DPS, that's like an 80% increase in this Paladin's DPS, like plus 300%. 80%? Nah. 50? No. Yeah, it's like a 40% increase in DPS. This Paladin is pumping out 40% more fucking DPS over here, but it's only reducing the kill times by 25%. Yeah, so that's the effects of the diminishing returns. And then, of course, the opportunity cost is the stuff of nightmares. This Paladin's, the length of time this Paladin gets to DPS and something before you force it to bubble. And even when it bubbles, it's a sacred duty bubble, so it just gets to keep pumping DPS on the target for another 12 fucking seconds unhindered. Basically, this deep rep Paladin, if you throw damage at it, is gonna be forced to stop. Like it's a pressure thing, right? Remember we talked about the effects of pressure. If you Kamehameha on the deep rep Paladin, they're going to be forced to bubble within a matter of seconds. And the bubble that they have is going to cuck over their DPS output to the point where they're doing even less DPS than the Heal Reckoning Paladin. Whereas you'd have to throw so much fucking DPS at the Heal Reckoning Paladin to force them to bubble that you're probably already like 10 seconds deep into the fucking burst before the fucking thing even had to bubble. And when it bubbled, it's a goddamn sacred duty bubble, which means you didn't do fuck all to its DPS. It just continues to DPS on you for like another 10 fucking seconds before it finally goes, maybe I have to holy light myself. It's wearing full fucking plus healing gear, so that Holy Light's going to hit for like 3,000. It's also going to be in Argent Defender mode, so it's going to be have like a critical healing effect on its fucking value. And so when it comes out of bubble, it'll be like, 40% life, but for all intents and purposes, it's still got 7,000 fucking HP that you have to chew through, and the thing's DPSing on you again. It's like, fuck, man. Anyways, the thing's a monster, is what I'm trying to tell you. So all this being told, how long is this video? We got like an hour? Okay, that's not so bad for a Pally Time video. That's not so bad. Woof. Okay, so what ends up happening with Paladin gearing? Remember when I started this video, I said that Paladin's one of the most complicated classes in the entire game, and she's not complicated mechanically, but she is very complicated in what talents to take and what gearing to take, because she has all these like weird synergies and, blah, 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 diminishing returns and yada, 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 where you like start smacking face first into like DPS diminishing returns, which means a plus durability. It's the only class in the game that can like literally increase all of these. You increase your mobility by picking up Pursuit of Justice in the Ret tree in TBC, or a variety of trinket options, or judging justice on your enemy, or some combination thereof. CC, you can plus CC usually through trinkets, but you can also get those from your talents. So, Repent, a 35-second Hodge stuns, 35-second Hodge stuns, and Repents. If it was classic World of Warcraft, you've got like, Tidal Charm and fucking Goblin Mortar and shit like that. So you got all these weird little CC plus options. Healing, that's just in your fucking gearing or in a fucking talent tree. A sustain, that's in your gearing or a fucking talent tree. Hell, your base toolkit is fucking terrifying. Durability, yada, 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 yada. The other elephant in the room with the Paladins, gearing, and all this like crazy fucking synergy going on is the goddamn reflect damage. Paladin is the only class in the game that has access to reckoning an eye for an eye. Okay? It's the only class in the game that's basically like plus durability doesn't just increase DPS in all the weird ways that we talked about it. It can literally increase your burst DPS on a target because of how the reflect damage works from eye for an eye and reckoning. So literally they can convert very directly, being able to take everything the enemy has to offer to the fucking face and still be alive, not dead, and saying, "Thank you, sir, may I have another," and then just counterattacking. Their burst damage gets more terrifying the more they worship at the altar of durability. Okay? So there's just, the synergy on these fucking things is just a fascination and a half to try to talk about. Right. I remember the fucking thing I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the video. Very often, people who do not play Paladin, in both Classic WoW or TBC, will show up in my comments section asking me for a stat prioritization of Paladin. And I have to explain to them that Paladin does not have stat prioritization. It has breakpoints. And the reason why it is very resistant against stat prioritization, and instead it has breakpoints, is because of all these crazy synergies that it has to worship at the altar at in order to get the most out of your Paladin mathematically, combat, and tactically. Okay? At a mathematical level, at a combat level, at a tactical level. Classes that have a stat prioritization are in essence a class where worshiping at the altar of one of these 6 things is so blatantly obvious the best thing to do that you need a stat prioritization for said class in order to understand how to maximize worshiping at the altar of that. So, for example, like rogues and other DPS-focused classes will have a DPS stat prioritization. Like Warrior really comes to mind. They have a very clear DPS stat prioritization. This is because doing anything but worshiping at the altar of DPS and those fucking things is usually wrong. Okay? Paladin is a completely different animal. because you'll have like a plus healing minimum in TBC, and that'll change for like different phases. So like in phase 1, your plus healing minimum is, I do believe it's like plus 600 healing. Basically, you want your holy lights on average to heal for like 2,800. And then by the time you're in phase 3, you want it to be like 3,000. And then by the time you're in beyond phase 3, like phase 5, you want it to be like 3,200. And there's no real hard cap on the plus healing diminishing returns. There's just a soft cap. Because if you get more and more plus healing, it basically allows you to downrank your heals on your paladin, and you can convert the plus healing on your paladin directly into gains in sustain. So like literally you can convert it into like MP5 in the grand scheme of things. Right. But there is a soft cap diminishing returns where very quickly you're better off actually like starting to gem things like MP5 or spirit gear, because you have so much fucking plus healing that you are starting to buttress up against a soft cap, where it's better off for you to start worshiping at sustained capabilities, especially in those longer fights. Like if that's your battle plan, is to go into a longer fight. We're not trying to kill motherfuckers in a burst. Some classes you can't even kill them in a burst, like mage, for example. The only way to beat a mage in TBC is to take all their shit to the face and still be alive and not dead, and basically cause them to run out of mana. And once they run out of mana, then you're in a sustained fight with them. Same thing with fighting a hunter. Good luck like CCing and bursting a hunter out of existence as a paladin. They're probably going to get away with like, 30% life or some shit like that and put you on the back foot with all the damage. And you literally can't kill them until they've run out of mana. There's lots of classes that you cannot beat them unless you're willing to go the distance, you're willing to run them out of mana, and you're willing to get into a sustained fight. Plus healing is what will a combination of durability, standing effective HP, a bunch of fucking plus healing, and then these two things together will get you into that endurance fight. And then once you're in that endurance fight, a combination of your sustained capabilities and what DPS output you're able to muster suddenly become king because of EVE Online rules. Anyways, moving on here. What the fuck was I trying to talk about? Meh. The total synergy of Paladin, the weirdness of Paladin. I forgot my train of thought here. Yeah. Oh, right. Hard. No. Why Paladin uses breakpoints and not stat prioritization. Okay, cool. So, if your battle strategy as a paladin involves you doing any fucking kind of healing for any fucking reason, so I'm looking at you, Cactus Paladin, okay? I'm looking at you, Deep Ret Paladin. Deep Ret Paladin that is looking to kill fucking things in a burst with RNGesus, that you're probably better off like not plussing your DPS and putting on some fucking healing gear so you can hit your plus healing breakpoint, so you can help keep your arena partner alive, so you can last longer to go into like a more live lord fighting mode, which means that you can get back to your like your really swift cooldown CCs, like your Hand of Justice CC and your Repent CC, like the CCs on a very swift, fast cooldown. Hell, even your Blessing of Protection counts as a burst trinket for CCing on your enemy. God help you if you're a dwarf, like that's on a 3-minute cooldown too. You're better off not going plus DPS and instead having like 1/3 of your gear be plus healing gear, so that you can enter like a live lord mode in conjunction with your resto shaman. So that you can just burst on your enemy over and over and over again until you finally get RNGesus and they just fucking explode. Like, that is the better course of action for you to do than to continue worshiping at the altar of DPS. I'm looking at you, you fucking dumbass Ret Paladins. And then when you finally understand this concept as a Paladin, you begin to realize that Crusader Strike sucks a dick, and you should go deeper into the Ret tree instead and get Sacred Duty and fucking Reckoning and all the other goodies in the Ret tree. But If you're doing the Cactus Paladin thing, which is what I just described, you're still better off having like a third of your gear be plus healing gear so you can hit the fucking plus healing soft cap so you can go into this Live Lord fucking mode and you can start like, you know, rolling more dice at Arda and Jesus. That is going to increase your win rate more than anything else. Moving on. It also synergizes incredibly well with the Cactus Paladin playstyle because without the plus healing breakpoint, the enemies basically can just deal with you by ignoring you. They don't have to deal with Reckoning because they can just drill onto the Resto Shaman. But once you put on that third of plus healing gear, they can't ignore you anymore. They literally cannot ignore you. You will keep that Resto Shaman alive until the end of fucking time. It also makes you a monster in the endurance fight, which you'll probably end up taking it against for a lot of enemy classes. Whew, okay. Now we need to talk about the mathematical totality of your combat capability. All right? How do I put this? Let's go back to the Argent Defender Paladin by way of example. Okay? And we're going to specifically look at Deep Ret Paladin's 1000 DPS and 900 effective HP and Heal Reckoning 700 DPS with 18,000 effective HP. Let's assume there are no other factors, like we don't factor in the plus healing, we don't factor in the reckoning, you know, blah, 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 blah. Okay? I think I have an example of Rogue around here that I mentioned, but I didn't really talk about it too much. Did I write about Rogue? This is most notable in Rogue, blah, 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 blah. Did I type that somewhere? Okay, here it is. Yeah. It's okay. So think of this as that rogue that could kill you if they were at 50% life, but they are currently at 20% HP and cannot come anywhere near you and desperately need a re-stealth. You know, Shadow Step, Sap, and then eating, drinking, and bandaging. Oh, right. I want the other paladin here. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so let's say there's a class that cannot heal that is trying to kill you, aka a rogue. Okay? Let's say one paladin is slapping back at that rogue for like 1,000 damage and attack, and the heal reckoning, the heal reckoning paladin is slapping back at that rogue for like 700 damage and attack. Okay, so one paladin is basically trying to tickle the rogue to death, while the other paladin is actually bitch slapping him in the face, pretty goddamn hard. The difference is in the standing effective HP. By the time that rogue gets that paladin to bubble, and so the rogue can, you know, back off, get a re-stealth, heal up, and then, like, you know, literally get like a full reset. Let's say it takes, versus the Ret Paladin, 10 fucking seconds for them to force that Ret Paladin to bubble. The rogue will have potentially sustained like 10,000 HP worth of damage. Odds are like only 50% of that will actually hit them through all their dodge, block, parry. I mean, rogues have like a 35% mitigation just without evasion up, like dear fucking god. So let's say that DPS is basically halved. So the rogue only lost like 5,000 HP before forcing the Deep Ret Paladin to bubble. So the rogue is probably at somewhere around 50% HP, looking to get a full on this paladin. That's not very scary as far as pressure is concerned against that rogue. Whereas if you look at what the 700 healing is doing for the Heal Reckoning Paladin over the course of taking twice as long to force them to fucking bubble, that Deep Ret Paladin the Heal Reckoning Paladin would have done 14,000 effective damage to the rogue. Cut in half means he's only done 7,000 damage to the rogue. Let's assume the rogue has 10,000 HP. So that rogue forced the Heel Reckoning Paladin to bubble. While being at 30% life as opposed to 50% life and took 10 seconds longer to do that. 10 seconds longer for bubble to come off of cooldown, 10 seconds longer for Hand of Justice to come off cooldown, 10 seconds longer for the Dwarf Racial to come off of cooldown, 10 seconds longer for the fucking, what is it? God damn it, what am I thinking about? 10 seconds longer for Hodgestone? Whatever. That increase in 10 seconds in order to make that Paladin bubble is no joke. Because when that Paladin comes out of bubble, it's going to still take you like 10 seconds longer to get that Paladin to theoretically need to bubble again. Very, very scary shit. Okay, much harder to kill Paladin there. On top of this, we're failing to factor in, especially with Rogue and a bunch of DPS classes, how their DPS starts really high and begins to fall off. Like every class has their own DPS curve. Their DPS curve when they're opening on you starts at really high, like 1,000 DPS. But by the time you're like, 20 plus seconds deep in trying to force a Paladin to bubble, your DPS is probably down to like 700 out of 1,000. It drops off as the fight goes longer and longer. On top of that, the next go around when you're trying to kill a Paladin, like you finally got him to use bubble, the next opener you have on that Paladin, you're not going to have burst trinkets available. So you're not going to open with 1,000 DPS and then drop to 700. You're going to open like 800 DPS and then drop to something like 500. So it's not that it took 20 seconds long. It's not 10 seconds to force the Rep Paladin to bubble versus 20 seconds to force the Heel Reckoning Paladin to bubble. It's more like 10 seconds to force the Rep Paladin to bubble and like 28 seconds to force the Heel Reckoning Paladin to bubble. Which means he's going to have his Hodge stun back up. He's incredibly close to having like his Dwarf Racial back. Like fucking hell, man. And on top of that, you were able to force the bubble not at 50% life, but at 30% life, which means that when you engage on the Paladin again, you're probably not going to be engaging on him at like 80% life recovery. You're going to be because you can't waste the time to let this fucking Paladin get his bop off, his bop plus Dwarf Racial. You want to try to kill him in that while his defensive CDs are on cooldown. You don't have the time to sit there and eat and drink and bandage back up to full. You gotta go. Against the Deep Rep Paladin, you're got to go when you're like at 80% life because you're going to feel very comfortable killing them within that time period and surviving against their RNGesus on their counterattack while you're doing it. But against the Heel Reckoning Paladin, you would have to pull that go with 20% less life. So you're at like 60% HP when you're trying to fuck with this thing. And it got you down to 30% HP the first time you fucked with the thing. So, and he's probably going to get cooldowns back faster. And that doesn't sound mathematically possible. And it's not. Which means they're forced to sit there and actually spend the time to heal back up to fucking full. And by that time, they're definitely outside the window of opportunity to actually kill them before they get back to the other CDs again. So what I'm trying to explain is that the totality of the combat capability of the Paladin is noticeably better from all the synergies than worshipping too heavily at the altar of one thing or another. And that feeds back into Paladins have breakpoints and not stat prioritizations. All right, let's go back here. So you have this plus healing breakpoint both in 2s and outside of 2s. You have a sustain breakpoint, which really start getting into if we're talking about sustain fighting. The only way you can get into sustain fighting as a Paladin is to have an insane amount of durability combined with plus healing. So these three fucking things synergize incredibly well together. Sustain, once you're sustain fighting, suddenly your DPS actually matters. if you're trying to kill something in like a burst window, or if you're trying to, what's the thing here? The pressure, right? Plus pressure, aka lowering enemies' HP bar faster, which can result in limiting enemy players' options tactically. We just had an entire conversation about what that even looks like with Rogue. You're not actually lowering the enemy's HP bar any faster. If we plus DPS, we would theoretically lower that Rogue's HP bar faster, but we're going to get way more of that lowering the enemy HP bar. It's better to lower the HP bar slower against a Rogue than faster, and we're going to accomplish that through durability, healing, and sustain, but mostly just through plus durability. Okay, so usually as you're gearing your Paladin for PvP, your first port of call is durability. I have minimum durability requirements on my Paladin. Where the fuck are they so I don't just blow the fuck up, right? Usually they're going to be somewhere around the 10,000 effective HP mark before you're safe from blowing the fuck up in TBC. If we're talking classic World of Warcraft, that number is very specific. It's 5,600 to 5,800 HP on era. And then at that point, you're basically at a hard cap of your HP, where, at least in classic World of Warcraft, where increasing your HP any further from this point is going to accomplish you nothing. You're at the soft cap at 5,600. I won't go into why, but you are. In TBC, there isn't really a hard cap there on your durability, because the more standing effective HP you have means the longer you get to DPS on your enemy before they force you to bubble, and you get all the positive benefits of that out of that. So there's never really a hard cap on plus durability. In TBC, there are minimums. There's like a minimum soft cap, but then after that, everything's kind of like a soft cap, because you will be converting standing effective HP into other tactical combat advantages, not to mention DPS, blah, 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 blah. Is there a minimum DPS requirement? Only in 2s? And you can see that right over here when you look at, like, what does the kill time look like with your arena partner. Other healers in 2s have the exact same thing. So, like, top tier S++ arena comp known as Dis Priest Rogue. I'm taking your water. If you're playing the Dis Priest with Dis Priest Rogue, especially if you're a dwarf, God forbid, you're going to have certain durability requirements on your Dis Priest, but once you hit those durability requirements for the arena, the next best thing you can do is to add as much DPS to the equation of your rogue's DPS output as possible. Whether that is purge spamming the shit out of things, or if it's like literally just DPS, with spell power as opposed to plus healing gear. So maybe you have like 2/3 of your gear is plus healing, but 1/3 of it is spell power, or maybe it's 50-50. That is basically your next port of call for the maximum synergy for your lowering the kill times as much as possible. And you're going to get the most synergy out of, like, durability is going to increase how much time you're giving your rogue to kill the target before you get taken out, and it's a fucking problem. And then DPS increase will lower the kill time, and those two synergize together incredibly well. The exact same thing happens with Paladin, with like your minimum DPS requirements. Your minimum DPS requirement is actually pretty low in the arena with a rogue, and it gets much higher if you're with a non-rogue partner. Basically, it depends on if Mortal Strike is in play or not. So if there's a Mortal Strike around, your DPS requirements are actually quite low. So if you're like a Holy Shock Paladin with a rogue, or you're a Holy Shock Paladin with a warrior, your DPS requirements might be as low as like 400 to 500 DPS output. And very quickly it becomes a matter of how long can you last against the enemy comp to buy time for your warrior/rogue to do his fucking job. But your DPS requirements are actually quite low in the grand scheme of things. Without Mortal Strike, however, your DPS requirements start going up rather dramatically. But you're probably playing a deep rep Paladin, which means worshipping at RNGesus and being a little bit of a live lord is the better way to go. So if you're paired with like a Resto Paladin, honest to God, 1/3 of your gear being plus healing gear and getting used to swapping to a plus healing one-hander and a shield for off healing is going to move the needle more for your victories in the arena than being like, I need to go all in on DPS. I like to see big numbers. It's just going to be better for you to be that more live lord play style in the grand scheme of things. What the fuck else is there to say? When it comes to your talents, just about every good Paladin PvP comp period has discovered the value of 3 out of 3 Pursuit of Justice and TBC. If you don't have Pursuit of Justice, it basically means that you're forced, in order to gain a mobility value, you have to give up like Judgment of the Crusader, Judgment of Wisdom on the target, and instead you have to judge Justice on the target, which is not ideal. But both from a durability perspective and from a tactical flexibility perspective, and just from a tactics perspective in general, just having that small increase of speed over your opponent is worth so much increase in durability and such a massive increase in your DPS. It's legitimately not even funny. Like, try killing a fucking druid in the arena as a paladin without judging justice on him and see what the fuck happens. Then try killing them in the arena while you're judging justice on them, but you yourself don't have Pursuit of Justice. It's a completely different fucking animal. So almost all of us take Pursuit of Justice. Eye for an eye is very difficult to live without with. Reckoning is very difficult to live without with. That's the other weird thing about the Paladin talent tree and what makes it such a complicated class is Paladin doesn't really have talents that are super deep in the talent tree that are worth it to take over things in the rest of the talent tree. So Crusader Strike is objectively hot fuck ass garbage compared to all the things that you could spend in the you could pick up Reckoning, you get to pick up Sacred Duty out of the prot tree in exchange for fucking Crusader Strike, which you really struggle to feed into your rotation anyways if you have to do any kind of cleansing while you're fighting against your enemies. So it's kind of like hot fuck ass garbage. Then it's like Holy Shield is okay. Fucking Avenger Shield is hot ass fucking garbage, so nobody goes even that deep into the prot tree. The big boy talents for you are like at the mid tiers in the talent tree. So it's like Command, Eye for an Eye, Pursuit of Justice are all big boy talents, and those are like only like 20 talents deep into the ret tree. Then you have Reckoning, which is 25 talents deep into the prot tree. You have Sacred Duty, which is like 27 talents deep into the prot tree. Big fucking boy talents there. And on the way to get there, you went through like Stoicism and 35-second Hodge cooldowns and 3 out of 3 Sanctity Aura. Like, fucking hell, man. Like, what the fuck? Freedom's lasting 16 seconds on like a 25-second cooldown as opposed to 10 seconds. What the balls? Bop on a 3-minute cooldown as opposed to a 5-minute cooldown. What the balls? Your ability to heal in combat and make use of any plus healing gear to a alarming degree is like 8 talent points deep into the Holy Tree. Plus 12% healing, which is the equivalent of like hundreds of plus healing on your Paladin that could then go to like Critical Strike or DPS or increased durability is like 13 talent points deep into the Holy Tree. And then from there, the only thing worth a damn in the Holy Tree is Holy Shock, which is like 31 talent points deep. Your talent trees are very weird on Paladin, where it's not like a rogue with Shadow Step, where the idea of going into the arena without Shadow Step is like borderline clinically retarded. or going into the arena as a resto shaman without Earth Shield is borderline clinically retarded. Not the worst idea. You can get eye for an eye, but it's still questionable. Um, you don't have these like really deep talents that basically scream you are a moron if you don't go this deep into one of these trees. And because the trees are literally like heal lord flavor, so there's some flavor of heal lord. My bad, live lord. So you got the plus healing live lord, you got the plus durability live lord, and sustain live lord. You've got the touch me, I touch you back harder live lord. You've got the DPS live lord, and then on top of that, you got some weird flavor flav shit going on, where it's like, oh, I went even deeper into this tree, so now like Heal Reckoning, for example, right, is a flavor of live lord that is plus healing, durability out the ass, like durability in all caps. Insane sustain capability, because when it's in Argent Defender mode, it effectively gets like plus healing efficiency. So it can downrank its spells and get like insane sustain capability, combat capability. And then if you're gearing it with plus healing, not only do you do really good DPS, but it's just like, fuck, man. Oh, and you're also a touch me if you dare class, because you have Seal of Command with fucking Reckonings. Therefore, you have something like mana efficient to twist on the fucking thing. And you have like Pursuit of Justice. Oh, and by the way, you have Sacred Duty and like 1 or 2 points, an eye for an eye, and or multiple points in Holy Shield. It's like, fuck, what is this thing? So it's this weird concoction of flavor flav as far as your talents are concerned. And then you've got like Shock Ret Paladin, which is like, yeah, I picked up Holy Shock and the ability for my Holy Lights to be 2-second cast as opposed to like 2.5-second cast. Oh, by the way, I'm so deep into the fucking the Ret tree that I've got Pursuit of fucking Justice for all the tactical benefits of that. Eye for a motherfucking eye for some goddamn reflect damage to synergize off of. And oh, by the way, I've got the Sustain Game from Hell because my fucking judgments are all borderline free mana cost. Like, what? Oh, and I can also downrank because I'm wearing a bunch of fucking healing gear. And I've got, like, Illumination. Like, okay, that's a weird fucking flavoring of fucking Paladin there. That thing's gonna be, like, mana efficiently seal twisting a two-hander all over your ass while Holy Shock fucking heal itself and being sustaining 6 ways from Sunday. Like, good fucking luck. Oh, and it moves faster than you. Okay, good fucking luck. Have fun trying to fight that fucking thing. Then, of course, you got Cactus Paladin, which is like, if I just so much as sneeze as plus healing gear, what happens? And just like, what happens is you pair incredibly well with a fucking shaman and you become the stuff of nightmares. It's complicated. Let's just put it that way. Paladin's a little complicated. Notice at no point in this conversation did I talk about how using your abilities as Paladin is part of the complexity of Paladin. How pushing the buttons is part of the complexity of Paladin. The only fucking thing that is part of the complexity of Paladin on the pushing the buttons area of things is how to better understand closing the distance between a straight line in like a dueling circle or an arena. AKA steady bearing decreasing distance, as we say in the Navy. Which I made a whole video on. So there is a way for you to move inside the arena as a Paladin, for you to press W in the arena as a Paladin versus a target that is moving faster than you, trying very, very hard to buy as much time as possible before you can connect on them in melee or before you can get within shock or judgment range. There's a very specific way for you to move inside the dueling circle or the arena where you will very quickly identify what is essentially the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And you will close on that motherfucker, that hunter that is in, or that druid in cheetah form, or that whatever the fuck, blinking mage or sprinting rogue. You will close in on that motherfucker so fucking much faster than any other Paladin they've ever experienced running them down, that they will swear to God you have like a plus 20% movement speed on your Paladin. And all you're basically doing is understanding the concept of steady bearing decreasing distance, as we say in the Navy. In the Navy, basically, if you want to know if you're on a collision course with any ship, like on the horizon, what you're supposed to do is hold your thumb over the boat on the horizon, so you can't see it. So you cover it with your thumb. And then if the distance between you and the enemy object is decreasing, but the object is not moving to the left or the right of your thumb, you are not only on a collision on an intercept course with that object on the distance, you are on a motherfucking collision course with the object on that distance. And you can do the exact same thing in the arena, where it's like, if the rogue is at the 11 o'clock mark on my screen, okay, so they're at, my bad, not 11, 11 or 1 o'clock position. Let's say the enemy hunter is on, hunter's a better example. The enemy hunter is on like the 1 o'clock position from where my character is, and the distance between us is decreasing. But the hunter is not moving to the left or to the right of that 1 o'clock position. It's not moving closer to noon. It's not moving closer to 2 o'clock. We are on steady bearing decreasing distance. And for all intents and purposes, I am moving in a straight fuck-ass line on an intercept course with that motherfucker. And the hunter will be shitting bricks and trying to like wiggle waggle me off of this intercept course if he has any fucking idea what the hell is happening. So good top tier hunters will see that intercept course effect, because from their perspective, the paladin is at whatever the fuck degree markage. The distance is decreasing and the bearing is not changing. That paladin is going to close on you faster than any fucking thing you've ever seen close on you in the dueling circle, period. So you got to do something about that. Gotta do something. So that's kind of the only mechanical thing that you can possibly do as a paladin to really improve your gameplay as a paladin. Its net effect is you basically have like plus 10, plus 20% increased movement speed. If you know steady bearing decreasing distance. The only other thing you can really do to increase your paladin's combat capabilities is gameplay knowledge. Knowing when to go healing, live lord mode, knowing when to be more offensive in what you're doing combat wise, to basically this usually comes up with rogues specifically. The best way to deal with, you have to damage a rogue in order to put them in a tactically unfavorable situation. You can't just out-live lord a rogue. You can't do that in Classic WoW, and you can't do that in TBC. You can't just out-live lord them. You have to clap back with some counter pressure to lower their HP bar enough that it puts them in a very tactically unfriendly situation. You really need to do that. Counter pressuring against Ellie Shamans is also a really big deal. So, for example, in Classic World of Warcraft, putting a wreck bomb into a elemental shaman and they've got 50% life left to work with, versus putting a wreck bomb into an elemental shaman and they have 30% life left to work with, is night and fucking day different as far as how it limits the enemy's tactical options. So, let's say I wreck bomb into a shaman and they're at like 50% life. And I'm like, ah, crap, I need to like start healing myself. That shaman is free to put lightning bolt after lightning bolt, chain lightning after chain lightning, earth shock after earth shock into me. Even if I have eye for an eye in reckoning, like he can roll the dice on that RNGesus, because they have enough HP bar still to play with that option is tactically on the table. Basically, what they're hoping for is to get some good crit RNG and to blow you the fuck up before you're able to heal yourself. Because even if they crit you, the eye for an eye damage is only going to take out like 10% of their HP bar. If you decide to stop the healing and counterattack with the reckoning charge that gave you, that's only going to reduce their HP bar by an additional 10%. Their auto attack might reduce their HP bar by 10%. They're looking at like if their chain lightning crits or their earth shock crits, they're going to be down 30% fucking life from where they are, which is only like, it's close enough to Hammer of Wrath range, and the Paladin's going to be close enough to dead that they can roll the dice and that RNGesus. But if they're 30% life and the enemy has eye for an eye and Reckoning, it's a fucking death sentence if they crit that Paladin. So it's like they need to crit the Paladin in order to kill them before and stop their healing, but before they can heal themselves. But at the same time, the act of critting them is going to cause the Paladin to just swing at them and blow them the fuck up. So it puts them in a very tactically unfriendly situation, removing this very specific counterplay option off the table. And so if I put a Wreck Bomb into a Shaman and they find themselves at 30% life and I start trying to cast Holy Lights, they can't even like rank 1 Earthshock me to try to interrupt my healing. They have to look at the tactical situation and start healing themselves. So you'll find yourself in this interesting scenario where I put a Wreck Bomb into the Shaman and the Shaman's like, fuck, I gotta heal. I can't go offensive, I have to heal. If they rank 1 Earthshocked you and it crit, the Eye for an Eye is not going to do anything, but they gave the Paladin a Wreck Charge and nothing better to do but with his life but to swing back into that Shaman. That's going to eat at least 10%, if not 20%. Yeah, it's going to probably take closer to like 15-20% of the Shaman's HP bar away. And next thing they know, they're in Hammer of Wrath mode, and they're nowhere near getting a heal off. At that point, they're reaching for their fucking healing potions, Whipper-Root Tubers, which is bad in and of itself. Or they have to use Nature Swiftness defensively, all because they wanted to go for a rank 1 Earthshock and try to tell that Paladin to shut the fuck up, and it just happened to crit him. They're fucking dead if they did a max rank Earthshock and a crit. Let me just put it that way. And they're like, oh, major defensive cooldowns, expenditure, blah, 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 blah. Right. So Paladin is complicated. The only other thing that you can do to really increase your combat capability with Paladin, other than the talents and the gearing side of things, is Paladin has these really deep chess games with enemy players because they're a flavor of Livelord. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, most other classes matchups and duels, it plays out like a 20 move chess game, whereas Paladin, because it's a flavor of Livelord, when you're gearing your Paladin properly, like really getting into the talents and really getting into the gear, like really squeezing the most out of this fucking class, the fights end up lasting longer and longer. So you find yourself not in a 20 turn move chess game. You find yourself in a 30, and then a 40, and then a 50, and then a 60 fucking move chess game. And understanding how to navigate that chess game to victory, especially when your enemy probably has never been in this situation tactically before. Like, the rogue hasn't fucking, god damn it, it took me how fucking long to get that heal Reckoning bubbles out of him? What the fuck? I'm so low life after I did it? What the fuck? He's in a weird-ass tactical situation that he ain't never fucking been in before. Or that mage trying to kill a heal Reckoning Paladin where it's like, why did my 2 bursts not kill this fucking piece of shit? How did it out-heal through everything that I did to it? Why am I finding myself out of mana fighting a Paladin who also has no fucking mana? I've never been here before. Whereas the Paladin is like, oh, if I can make it to this like out of mana fight with this mage, by doing all this like, crazy shit, mage mathematically just falls over dead. I know it. He might not know it. You get into these really deep chess games where your enemy might not even know that they're completely fucked. But you as the Paladin have navigated them into a situation where they're all out of options. Their tactical capabilities are non-existent anymore. You're just going to grind them into fucking pulp. You're going to... the end result is this. When you're getting the most out of your Paladin, they end up being this mathematical turd of efficiency. This heal lord turd of just raw... fuck you combat efficiency that usually just Livelords its way to victory one way or the other. They're either doing that through more damage and more counter pressure put back on the enemy than they've ever seen before, or they're doing that through just raw Livelord capability. Like when you're fighting a mage, your DPS doesn't matter for a very, very, very long period of time. Like, you're not going to be able to, like, counter pressure the mage with your DPS output to put them in a bad situation tactically. That's not going to happen. That's also not going to happen versus a hunter the vast majority of the time. Against both those classes, you literally have to outlast them until they run out of mana, and only then does your DPS actually fucking matter. Whereas against rogues and like a bunch of other a number of other classes that can't like out heal or your DPS actually does matter from a counter pressure play tactically. Whew. All right. Well, anyways, I'm gonna end the video here, and day is full.